talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.
Welcome back to another episode of Caged In. I'm your host, Chris DiCarlo. Got a very special guest making his debut on the show. It's Colin Robinson. How we doing today, my man?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. I know you got a big fight coming up May 27th, Cage Titans 59. Glad you could carve out a little bit of time, come sit down and talk with me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you once again for having me. Obviously a great opportunity to be able to talk about our journeys and talk about the fight. It's a great way just to be able to get our stuff. So I appreciate you having me on.
Of course, man. Anytime, anytime. All right. This is your first time on the show. So typically I like to start, get to the background a little bit, get to know you a little bit better. So just talk about, where you were born and raised and what was growing up kind of like for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born in Mashpee, Cape Cod. So I was born in Mashpee, and then I lived there for about 3.5 years, and then we ended up moving down to Florida. And then I lived for Florida for about 6 years, and then kind of was just moving around all Massachusetts since then, just, with school. My mom got a few different jobs. So I've lived in Worcester, Northborough, Wrentham, Upton, Mendon. So I've been all over the place, but originally born in Mashpee and now reside and stay out of Worcester, Mass.
That's awesome, man. I didn't know you were a Cape guy. I'm from Bourne. I was born and raised in Bourne. I live in
Okay.
Bourne to this day. So I didn't know you were a Cape guy, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
What about like high school and stuff? You moved around a lot? Did you kind of stick around in the same school system for a bit, or did you have to bounce around and adapt?
So I had to bounce around and adapt. So my freshman year, I went to Nipmuc Regional High School. That's in Upton, Massachusetts, and my brother was a senior there, and so I was like, you know what, this is perfect. I'll be there with him. And then my mom and decided to get a new job, and so we moved to Northborough, Mass. And so then I went to school at Algonquin Regional High School.
Nice. So what about sports? Did you play any sports? Were you an athlete, just naturally growing up?
Yeah, so growing up, I did judo, did a little bit of wrestling. We weren't really too interested in wrestling, and so we just kind of stuck with judo. And then my dad ended up passing away when I was 7 years old, and my brother and I kind of just lost a little bit of interest in it because that was our thing with our dad. And so, believe it or not, we picked up the next sport was bowling. So me and my brother picked up bowling because that was our dad's second favorite sport, and we actually ended up winning 2 state titles in bowling in Florida. And then growing up, when we moved up here, there was no really bowling scenes or anything. So everyone's like, you guys are big kids, you should play football. Kind of jumped into the football scene, played a little bit of lacrosse, some basketball. And then in high school, decided to just pick up football and stay with it. And then did a little bit of wrestling. And then senior year, I decided to pick up rugby as well. But the whole goal was just to go to college and play Division I football and everything. So football was the main sport for sure.
That's awesome, man. You definitely seems like you had your hand in a little bit of everything, which is cool. Did you end up going to college and end up eventually playing football there too?
Yep. So it was not the path that I anticipated. Unfortunately, I was the classic high school kid, that said, oh, football is gonna get me in. I don't have to worry about grades. I don't even have to worry about showing up for school. And
Right.
do I regret it? Absolutely. But I learned from it. And so I ended up not being able to get any Division I offers because I was ineligible just due to lack of attendance and GPA. So that kind of just threw me for a loop. And I was able to get into Western New England College, which is now Western New England University in Springfield. So I went out there my freshman year, played for them. And then, I was just sitting around and I kind of realized that I burnt myself out in high school, focusing so much on Division I, making that that standard. And then I realized that football's football. And so I ended up deciding that it was best for me to transfer to Worcester State, save a little bit of money. And, I realized that Gabriel Gonzaga's gym was right down the street from Worcester State. And I said, this is perfect. And so then I decided to transfer to Worcester State, play all 3 years, and then graduated early on. I graduated at the end of my junior year. And so then right from then started getting right into basically Muay Thai, which is the gym I train at now, and the rest is history.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Can you kind of speak about, the first time you stepped into the gym, the beginning of that MMA journey, and then kind of when you figured out like, okay, this is what I want to do now, and how you switched your focus into that avenue of MMA?
Yeah, absolutely. So To be honest, I kind of always knew I wanted to fight. I said this in my first ever article. It was on the Telegram Gazette that I wasn't joking about it, but me and my brother, when we were little, decided to watch the movie Fight Club. And I don't know what it was, but I got jacked up from watching that movie. And I just told him, punch me in the face, punch me. And so I remember I went into school the next day, the biggest swollen eye, and they called my mom asking what's going on at the home, and it was right
Yeah.
after my dad passed. So now I'm like, man, that does not look good now that I think back on it. Like it was
Right.
probably a horrible situation, but I kind of always enjoyed, honestly, just the physical combat stuff. And so then when I stepped into the Muay Thai gym, I was like, all right, this is awesome. Like, I have a wrestling, judo base. Like, I know what I'm doing. And man, I remember they asked me, do you want to spar? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Let's
Yeah.
do this. And I remember driving home, my fiance now, Jenna, she called me and was like, hey, how was training? And I was just like, man, was that one of the most humbling experiences of my life. I thought I knew everything. I thought I was, going to be able to use my athleticism, and I just used my athleticism to get punched more. And so I was
Right.
like, man, this is going to be a lot more than I anticipated.
For sure, man. You definitely got your hands full on that one. I know you do go by the nickname Superman, man. So what is the story behind the nickname and how'd you get it?
Yeah. So, class, like great American, nickname, and everyone always like, I've gotten like love for it. I've definitely gotten hate for it because,
Yeah,
it's that generic name. And so, literally I never came up with it.
of course.
When I first started, I was like 225, I had my football build, and, football, you're just lifting and eating as much as you can, which makes zero sense now you think about it. You just
Mhm.
slow yourself down. And so I was just this big, strong guy walking to the gym, and my coach one day was just like, you look like Clark Kent, with your hair. He goes, you look like Superman. And then from there on, he just decided to keep calling me Superman. And then we are getting ready for my first ever amateur fight, and they were like, oh, do you have a nickname? And my coach goes, Superman. And I was like,
Yeah,
I guess I'm rolling with it, because I didn't know if I was gonna say that. I know if that was
right.
like my gym name, and then sure enough, yep, it's Superman.
Gotta love it, man. A lot of those classic nickname stories comes from that same thing. Like your first fight, there's a slot open for nickname. You don't know what to put there, and your coach just kind of puts something out there, and it ends up sticking most of the time. So, I mean, yeah, Superman is definitely marketable too, bro. Like you can put that on the logo, you can put that on anything,
Yeah,
merch,
exactly.
everything. So
Yeah.
I understand, like it might be a little bit generic, but it is something that it works for you too. And you do kind of look like Clark Kent, man. So I'm down with it.
Thank you.
Your fight history, man. Let's get into a little bit. I know you do have quite the list of accolades for an amateur fighter, man. Let's talk about your Valor FC Middleweight Championship. That is a promotion down in Tennessee. How did you find your way down to Tennessee? And you had 3 fights there. What was the experience like fighting for Valor?
Yeah, so during Valor, I ended up fighting there, and the first fight was October, I believe, 3rd of 2020. And previously from that going back to that August of 2020, I was reaching out to everywhere during the pandemic about, hey, can I come get a fight? I
Mhm.
love the fight for you. I'll drive down, no need to pay. Like I was just trying to get anything. And so I decided just to reach out one more time. I was like, okay, I have family down in Tennessee. Worst comes worst, if I can get a fight there, I can stay there. It's perfect.
Mhm.
And so I got the fight, and they were like, hey, we can easily get you on this October card. Where do you train out of? And then I had to immediately call my coach and tell him, like, hey, I know we've been shut down with COVID and everything, but I got a fight in the pandemic. And so that kind of was the rest, going on. We got back right into training, everything for like that. And then we won the first fight against Michael Sullivan. Then our next fight, we fought Colton Dunn, who
Mhm.
we actually end up taking on a day's notice, because we went through 4 different opponents the week of the fight, which
Damn.
was, yeah, that was a
Yeah,
emotional roller coaster. And
I
then
bet.
at weigh-ins, we were supposed to fight Skylar Cobb, and he ended up weighing in at like 170 with like jeans on, and I just cut down the 185. And luckily the promoter, for the sake of just for my competition, was like, hey, we're not going to get anything out of this, you're not going to get anything out of this. And so they had a little bit more of an experienced opponent, Colton Dunn, that was 3-2. And so we decided to take on that opponent. He weighed in at like 185 on fight day. We're like, perfect, whatever. He made weight, it's awesome. Like, let's do it.
Mhm.
We ended up beating him the second round, which was a really good test, because, he had more experience, and my first fight was only a minute. So I got a little bit more cage time. And then sure enough, the third fight for Valor, they asked me if I wanted to fight for their belt. And we fought Tristan Scarborough, who actually is turning pro this upcoming month, who's a he had a really good resume, and we realized that this was a perfect fight for me. And so we went down and fought him in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and won that fight, beat him all 3 rounds for unanimous decision. And then, that from then we were supposed to fight one more against Torres Finney, who's now a pro as well. But it just didn't line. I got COVID, got sick, it happened. And then we just been now fighting for Cage Titans. And then obviously we had Gamma as well before that.
Yeah, for sure. How was it kind of being in Tennessee and being the out of town guy? Was that something that kind of weighed on you at all, or was it just, business as usual, go in there and do your job?
Yeah, the first 2 fights, honestly, it was just like, business as usual. But the third fight, I had my family from down south was all there already. So I was like, okay, nothing new. They were there the first 2, but then this one we had more people from Massachusetts come down. So then I was like, okay, like I got people coming, like we gotta do this, like we got this, like like it was just a little bit more of a like, hey, like it's no more just like laughing, having a good time, like this is it, they're coming down to see you win. And so and Tristan had a little bit more of a favoritism because he trained with a Gogi Combat, who was a gym based out of Chattanooga, so he got a little bit more hometown love. And so I kind of feeded off that. And then the biggest thing was I was getting ready to go take a piss right before the fight, and this little kid just like looking at me, and I'm like, all right, whatever. And I walk into the bathroom, and he goes, yo, you're gonna get knocked out. And I'm like, what? And he just goes, you're gonna get smacked. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And he goes, yeah, my uncle's gonna knock you out. And I'm like, oh, okay, is he? And I'm like, whatever. So like, I do my business, and I'm walking, I'm like, man, that little kid just really talks shit to me. And so then I kind of just was like, okay, let's go and have some fun. So fighting in that like environment was definitely fun, just being the Massachusetts, the only one fighting from there and everything. So I was like, yeah, let's embrace this environment.
Yeah, it's all you can really do, man. Being the out of town guy, it's just bound to, have the crowd against you. But yeah, all you can really do is just embrace it. Don't let it get to your head, and go out there and do your job, and do what you've been trained to do. So, I mean, it definitely gives you some experience for like, later in your career when you're going to have to go on the road and, fight in, other cities and other states and whatnot. So definitely gives you that, glad you had that experience earlier in your career. So now you can kind of get that out of the way for sure. All right, man, let's talk about Gamma a little bit. It is something that you mentioned earlier. I honestly don't know too much about the whole global association of MMA. I've never heard of it until I was doing a little bit of research for this, and I saw that was something that was a part of your resume. So can you kind of just, educate me and maybe some of the other people that aren't familiar with Gamma, what it is, and then how'd you end up being a part of Team USA, going over to Berlin, Germany? Just give us that whole story if you could.
Yeah, absolutely. So Gamma was something I had no idea really about until when we went down south for Valor. They're doing like the pre-fight check-ins, and they told us, hey, with registering for, making your cost of $75 for fighting and everything like that, with doing all this stuff, you register yourself to put in the pool for, this global world organization fighting committee that will be going on, in next year. We're trying to get registered for Olympics, and like, like I'm a little dehydrated, like it's going in through one ear out the other. And so I'm like, whatever, like, what are the odds that's gonna happen? Like, I don't even know. And so then we were getting ready to warm up one of my fighters for a no boundary fight in Muay Thai, and I get a message from Tim Loy, who's one of the promoters in Valor, and he goes, hey, what are you doing in December? And I'm like, not sure, let me ask my coach. And he was like, oh, we'd be interested in having you fight for the Gamma US team. And I'm like, oh, what? Oh, like, okay. And so then we ended up getting back in touch with him, and my coach and I agreed that was the best thing to move forward. And so, ended up getting canceled in December and February, but then it got put back on due to COVID. So it got put back on for March. And so basically Gamma, what it is it's basically almost like, how a lot of tournaments, it's a worldwide tournament of all countries fighting in an MMA tournament, 3-3-minute rounds, shin guards, and 8-ounce gloves. So, nothing kind of like, nothing crazy, but at the same time, it's basically 3 fight, you fight as much as you could. Some guys fought twice a day, but Gamma's the biggest organization, I guess, right now, going around for all countries to be able to come around and do this. So, so we were able to get that opportunity, go to, actually, it was supposed to be in Berlin, Germany, but it actually got moved to Amsterdam in March. So we got that opportunity, and it was probably one of the, it was the best experience for me, being able to fight Poland, Greece, and then or Kazakhstan. He was representative of Kazakhstan, but obviously Russia wasn't allowed, so some of the fighters joined in on that team as well. So yeah, it was the best experience and unbelievable experience as well, being able to obviously go travel another country like we were just talking before, being able to get travel under your belt, flying across country, getting all that time in and soaking up all the experience. So yeah, Gamma was one of the best opportunities I probably could have ever had going on in my early career.
Sure, man. That sounds like super awesome. It sounds similar to like a mini Olympics style type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know how many countries overall were represented?
I do not know. I know that there was a few that were restricted literally by their country due to COVID. There was a few that Russia was eliminated, was disqualified. So their fighters were allowed to represent other countries if selected. So like that was weird to me. I was like, whatever, like
Right.
it doesn't really affect me. And then Ukraine was allowed to fight, but that was if they wanted to, because this was really right in the middle of their war
Yeah.
going on. Obviously, it's still going on. Like wishing the best to everyone in that situation, but that was like in the heart of things. So like I was like me and my buddy Connor, who decided to come with me, my strength and conditioning coach. We were like, man, like, we're flying overseas, like, it was like a little dicey to us
Yeah,
at
for
first. We're
sure.
like, and then you kind of get in that mindset. You're like, whatever, we're going to be staying in a hotel. It's not going to be anything that you think of like that.
For sure. I know another accolade under your belt, man. You are the Cage Titans Middleweight Muay Thai Champion as well. You collected that over at Cage Titans 54. How the offer come across there? Were you looking for an MMA belt at the time under Cage Titans? They kind of, said, hey, we got a Muay Thai belt offered for you. Or are you strictly looking for Muay Thai at that time? What's kind of the story behind that one?
Yep. So that one, we were supposed to be doing this fight that for May 27th, we were actually going to be trying to do that. I believe it was June 4th or June 5th. And he ended up, Jideofor needed a little bit more time. I think he was on vacation or something. So we're like, okay, perfect. We'll do July 2nd. And then I believe he ended up getting banged up and got hurt. So he had to pull out. And so we were kind of like, man, like, we're just looking for fights. And, at the time, there wasn't really any MMA fights that we could get going. And so they offered us the Lamont Payne title fight. And they, unfortunately, Cage Titans thought that, like, most people that thought Gamma was a kickboxing or a Muay Thai tournament. So like, oh, hey, he's got experience Muay Thai, everything like that. He trains at a Muay Thai gym. This will be a perfect fight because they wanted to get Lamont a fight. So they ended up asking us that fight. And my coach, trusted him that Muay Thai was, ready enough to be able to do that. So we got the offer and we jumped on it and said, hey, let's go and do it. And then yeah, that was a fun fight, man. That was obviously being able to fight for Cage Titans for the first time too. That was awesome. But being able to do a Muay Thai fight in a cage, like that was like the perfect way for me to be able to tell my Muay Thai fighters and all the guys at my gym that, like, yeah, I fought a Muay Thai fight in a cage,
Right.
and it was for a belt. Like they always just go classic MMA guy. So it was the best experience.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I know also, on your list of things that happened in your career, you were supposed to have a pro fight on the last event, Cage Titans 58. You were going to take on Tommy Lee Davis in your pro debut. What was your decision to and obviously, we know this next one is still for an amateur fight. So what was your decision to go pro and then now kind of dial it back and stay in the Amis for this next one?
Yep. So going pro, after the July 2nd fight, we were hoping to get the fight on October 30th for the Cage Titans one. And then David Burke won the belt. And so we're like, okay, we fight October 30th, but he ended up, I believe, fracturing his hand. And so he was out for a little bit. And so then I was like, hey, I got some personal things. I'm going to, take a little bit of some time off just to, recover, get everything all situated in my life. And, hopefully we'll fight at the end of the year, maybe beginning of the year. And so then we just couldn't really find any right opponents, right fights at the time. And so we kind of say, hey, you know what? Like, let's ease back into this. Let's get a pro fight. Let's do this right. And, we decided that, okay, perfect. Tommy Lee Davis, a little bit of a tougher fight to start off your pro career, but we're ready for this. We look for these challenges. This is what we want. And then obviously we fly out to Denver, Colorado to finish up my camp with my coach and Aaron Ortiz, who was fighting for the world qualifiers at the time. And so, we touched down in Denver. I should have known it was going to be cursed anyways, because right before I flew out, my plane got hit by another plane at 9 a.m. So my flight was canceled from 9 a.m. and we didn't leave till about 6:30 that day. So I was in the airport the whole day.
Damn.
And I was just like, this sucks. Luckily, they hooked us up with there's a Delta Lounge that you can go to. So the lounge was nice, but the only thing is they were serving like all these nice foods. And I'm like, fuck, I can't eat any of this right now. So that sucks. So I sat all day in the airport and we fly to Denver and we touch down in Denver and my phone's blowing up. And I'm like, whatever, it's probably just family asked me, like, how's your day? And I didn't really tell anyone really about what was going on. And I saw my manager, Lars, text me that, hey, Tommy had to pull out due to uncircumstances reasons. And so, this is what's going to be happening. We're going to try finding a fight. And, we just couldn't find the right fight or anything like that. And so we just decided, hey, you know what? Let's see if there's some amateurs or anything like that we can get some more fights with, just because the more fights you get, the better you are. The more experience, the better you are. And so we just decided that, hey, we got a kind of a golden opportunity just to kind of take a step back, but at the same time, it's not a step back, it's a step forward, and it's just going only better. So, we decided that we wanted to just get a little bit more fights. My coach and I agreed upon it, and then we agreed with my manager. And so, yeah, it was a little bit of a, tough thing to be able to accept, because like you said, you turn a pro, you have this, you have this vision of what everything's going to look like. And then it's kind of like, whoa, hey, now we're going to end up taking a step back. But I thought that's what it was going to be at first, taking a step back. Man, I was supposed to be fighting this level. Now I'm fighting down, but there's no difference in this level. These guys are the top guys in New England for a reason. And, Jideofor is a tough dude, and he's going to be a pro one day for sure. If he wants to be 100%, he has the talent and skill. David Burke, there's a lot of guys in the 185 that, we'd love to get fights with, just because it's all about testing yourself. So, it stunk, not being able to have that pro debut and everything like that, but things happen for a reason. And I truly believe that. And, you can't really look back. You just got to look forward.
Definitely, man. 100% agree with you on that. Let's talk about Cage Titans a little bit, man. Cage Titans 59. You are fighting Jideofor Ojukwu, who is 5-2 as an amateur. You guys are fighting for the Interim Amateur Middleweight Title. Let's talk about your opponent for a little bit. What do you know about his game, and how do you feel about this matchup for you overall?
Yeah, so he's a very good grappler. I believe he's a brown belt. Good grappler, very strong wrestling base, and comes from a Muay Thai gym as well. So he knows how to stand up. He knows how to throw hands. He had actually a previous fight against Lamont Payne in Muay Thai before I fought Lamont. So he knows what he's doing. A very experienced opponent as well for an amateur. Very strong guy, wants to be able to get it to the ground, but has no problem exchanging hands. So very excited about this fight. And I believe that our styles really clash at a good way for the fans and for fireworks. I believe it's just going to be an action-packed fight where no matter where this fight goes, whether it's standing on the ground or in the clinch, I think it's going to be fireworks everywhere. And I'm very, very excited about this fight.
For sure, man. 100%. I'm very excited to watch it. The style, you said the style is a very good matchup for the both of you. You're both two very talented fighters, so I think it's going to be a good one for everybody in the arena for sure. Stylistically, where do you see yourself having the edge at all here versus Jideofor?
Yep, I see myself having the edge honestly everywhere. I believe my game is ready for every aspect of this fight, wherever it goes. I believe my stand-up is there. I believe my ground game is there. I believe my wall work, my clinch game. I believe it's, the best matchup for me. I believe I can take this fight wherever it wants to go. Everyone always says, you want to focus on, what your opponent's doing. But at the same time, if you're focusing on what they're doing, you're not focusing on yourself. So I'm just going to be focused on fighting my fight and basically putting myself in the best situations, adjusting, making the right adjustments, listening to my coaches and fighting my fight. Because too many guys, you want to focus on the right hand and then you let a round go by, you let another round go by. Now you're down 2-1 and, or down 2-0 and you've just been focusing on that right hand instead of getting your offense going. So,
Right.
As much as, he wants to strike or if he wants to grapple, I'll be ready for whatever.
For sure, man. And what can the fans at Plymouth Memorial Hall expect out of Colin Robinson once that cage door locks on May 27th?
You can expect the most dangerous and most violent Mama's Boy you've ever seen. So expect the best Colin Robinson, expect Mama's Boy. There's going to be fireworks. And yeah, man, Team Link, we're going to be packing the house. RNF Fitness, my gym that I own, me and my fiance, we're going to be packing the house as well. It's going to be a great night, but expect fireworks, expect a great night. I can't wait to be able to share the cage with him. And it's It's going to be one hell of a night. And on top of it, the pro fights as well. So everyone stay around. It's a banging card, man. I'm super pumped to obviously be a part of it. It's an honor to be a part of it with a lot of these guys that have very good credentials, especially, a few of them, Mitch, Brendan Bowles got a big fight as well. The guy that he's fighting, he has plenty of fights under his belt as well. So super exciting fight between all these guys. And expect the best Colin Robinson coming your way.
Hell yeah, man. Love to hear it. We know, like you did mention, the card is absolutely stacked. It's going to be a great night of fights. There's a ton of pro fights on the card as well. So like you said, everybody is in the building. Got to stick around and enjoy the night for sure. And I think tickets are still available. Hit up your favorite fighters. Go to the website, get your tickets now, because I'm pretty sure they will sell out. This event is going to be crazy. Let's talk about David Burke. He is the current middleweight champion of the Cage Titans Middleweight Amateur Division. Was there an attempt to kind of make a fight between you and him at some point this year before you guys decided to do this interim?
Yep. So he actually, they were offered us that fight for possibly for the March 8th, was it 17th, March 17th. It just didn't fine line with our timeline with being out there in Denver and then Aaron fighting in qualifiers. And, we were just like, hey, we need a little bit more time, just with everything going on. It all just blew up in the face of everything. And, we wanted the full camp for him and everything like that. And then I believe he ended up getting a little banged up and he wouldn't be ready till the end of summer. So they decided to do this interim fight and then winner fights Burke for the real belt because, obviously as much as it's an interim belt, yeah, it's a belt, but, the true champ is David Burke. He won the belt, he's the true champion. And, I know he said, come and get it, but got to focus on Jideofor, and then we'll have our moment after that. He's a great fighter as well. Love to fight him.
For sure, man. 100% agree with you there. How the interim thing come about? Was that something that Cage Titans offered you guys, or was that something that you guys had asked for?
To be completely honest, I had no idea about the belt until my mom literally told me. She was like, oh, hey, like, I didn't know you were fighting for belt. And I was just like, what are you talking about? Because when I agreed to fight Jideofor, it was supposed to be a three-minute round regular amateur fight. I was like, perfect, whatever. Like, hey, it's not gonna go all three. We're gonna focus on getting this fight done, and we'll fight Burke for the belt. And my mom's like, no, it's like this says you're fighting. I was like, Mom, what are you talking about? How would I not know I'm fighting for a belt? Right. And sure enough, I went on CageTitans.com and looked on the full event card, and I see interim title fight. I'm like, I had sent to my manager Lars, like, hey, is this? And he goes, news to me. And so then I guess, they just figured, hey, this would be a perfect fight. Obviously, being able to have 5 rounds with him, it's even better, better for the fans, better opportunity for both of us. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, belt or not, it's a great fight. So, and obviously, belt or not, we're ready for this fight no matter what.
100%, man. And moving forward after this fight, let's say that you go in there, you get the interim title. Is unifying the middleweight title with David Burke something that you would like to do ASAP, or are you looking to then, turn pro? Because you did, kind of turn pro in the last fight, taking it, style it back this time. So what's kind of next on the radar for you? Which way would you like to go there?
I definitely would like to be able to fight David Burke to, unify that belt. I don't like that you can have, one champ and then the other. I think, for the fans and for Cage Titans, there should be one champ. And then, if there's a few more other fights on the regional scene or even outside the regional scene, I would love to be able to do those as well. Whatever, honestly, the best offer, best opportunity, we're in no rush. Sometimes you think in life that you need to rush things and hey, 24 years old, sometimes you get in that mindset, oh, I got to go now. But you can't focus on other people's journeys. You got to focus on yourself and focus on your journey. So I'm just focusing on myself and figuring out what the best opportunity is for myself, my team. And so David Burke and then whatever's next, or if there's something in between, then David Burke, whatever it is. But we'll be definitely shooting for probably a few more amateurs just to be getting some more fights and more experience for sure.
For sure, man. Love to hear it. I appreciate the time, man. Before I get you out of here, I do like to end with some like random fun questions, non-MMA related. So I'll rattle off a couple of these. We'll get you out of here and, get you back to going on with your day. All right.
All right.
What's your go-to post-fight meal? Do you have anything that you specifically always eat after fight night?
Oof. Honestly, I don't really have a specific meal to post fight just because it's so tough to have a meal. But the next morning, I always go and get an omelet with pancakes. That's like the go-to breakfast. The night of, I just have pretty much the one thing I always get no matter what is an espresso martini. So that's like the post. I'm like, you know what? Let's get an espresso martini and enjoy the night.
There you go. If you know, fighting at Cage Titans, the Plymouth Memorial Hall, they do make some really good espresso martinis over at Salt,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
right down on the waterfront. So they make some banging ones over there. What's your favorite movie or TV show? I don't know if you're more of a movie guy, more of a TV show guy, but what's your favorite movie or TV show?
Favorite TV show? Probably I would def Sopranos. Growing up, Sopranos was probably GOAT.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Sons of Anarchy. Sons of Anarchy was a really good one as well. And then favorite movie, oof. If I was just gonna go all time, I had to watch one. Oh man, that's a tough one because I love categories, but I definitely, honestly, I probably would go Gladiator for
There you
sure.
go. Hey, those are some solid picks, man. You can't go wrong with that. Sopranos is, you know, goated in my list as well. It's not my number one all-time favorite, like greatest show, but it's definitely there's an argument for it.
Exactly. It's just like it's a classic, you know. It's just like
100%.
it's too good to not mention.
Definitely, 100% agree with you there. Do you have a walkout song picked yet?
Yes, so it's called Live is Life by Opus. So it's that is the song. I've had that for all my walkouts so far.
There you go. That's awesome. I like when people have this kind of the same song over and over again. You know, I mean, it's cool. I know a lot of people like to change it up, but it is cool, like to kind of that one like overseeing theme every time you walk onto the fight. So I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Do you have, I know you are pretty well traveled, man. Do you have a dream travel destination that you'd like to go to one day?
Oof. Honestly, Hawaii. That is the dream. For some reason, my fiance is so hooked on going to Hawaii, and she eventually convinced me on doing so. Hawaii for sure.
There you go, man. Maybe a little honeymoon trip.
Exactly.
There you
Absolutely.
go. Love that, man. All right, Colin, I appreciate the time, man. Thanks for taking the time, come and talk to me. It was definitely a blast. We'll definitely have to do it again in the future. Before I get you out of here, anybody you want to shout out, any sponsors you got to shout out, stuff like that, any social media things that you want to plug for the people to come follow you at?
Yeah, everyone go follow me at Big C508. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Colin Robinson. Big shout out to my team, Team Link Muay Thai. Huge shout out to Team Link Ludlow Jiu-Jitsu. Thank you guys for embracing me, taking me on. Huge shout out to my gym, RNF Fitness, all my friends, my sponsors, Rich and Ross Insurance, Sweet Heels, Manual Capital Group. Thank you, all those guys, RNF Fitness. My buddy and best friend, Connor McBride, who's my nutritionist, strength coach, got me right for this camp. Thank you, everyone. And lastly, thank you, my fiance, for dealing with me with all this stuff. It's not easy sometimes, you know, like that Denver trip was a lot and everything with the ups and downs. And so the fact she was all good with it and be able to stay on track, you know, I can't thank her enough for everything.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you, Connor. Thanks again for the time. I'll be seeing you May 27th, man. Best of luck.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Got down for the count and he can't even talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.